Good afternoon, and welcome to Kentwood Public Schools, East Kentwood High School, the home of the Falcons. My name is Omar Bakri, and I am the proud principal of East Kentwood High School. Before we get into the details of this event, please allow me to share just a few facts about our school. Our high school is the most diverse high school in the state of Michigan and top 10 in the country. We have students from 80 different countries and speak over 80 different languages. We are also the largest high school in West Michigan and one of the largest in Michigan. I know I am biased, but I truly believe East Kentwood High School is one of the best schools in America. It is my honor and privilege to welcome all of you here today for the signing of this historic school aid fund budget led by Governor Whitmer. Make no mistake about it, this past year has been extremely difficult and challenging for everyone. But it's our responsibility to provide our students with everything they need to be successful. Simply put, they are Michigan's future. Truly understand the impact that this budget will have on all students across our state. And I'm excited to announce that this budget will be the largest school aid fund in the history. So, Governor Whitmer, at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce and welcome one of our very own EK students, Anu Samanata. Anu is a senior who moved to Kentwood right from Hawaii, right before the forensics team and our track team. Anu has plans one day to be a civil rights attorney. Please help me welcome Anu.
Hi everybody, and thank you Mr. Bakri for the introduction. I'm Anu Simonetta, and I would like to say thank you for allowing us to share the experience of being an EK student through COVID and how this bill will improve the new and upcoming school year. For the last year, life has been incredibly unpredictable. We've been in and out of school, and students never knew what would happen next. In school, each time we saw an administrator or a teacher's phone ringing, we held our breath, hoping that ourselves and our friends weren't about to be quarantined for 2 weeks. The pandemic caused a unique kind of tension that I hope we will never experience again. This stress also impacted all of us socially. The ideal high school experience was limited without team bonding for sports, crowded football games, and school dances. The relationships we usually grow in the classroom were stunted because of the necessary safety measures in place. Personally, I just moved to East Kentwood from Hawaii during the middle of the pandemic and didn't know anyone here. I am someone who's an extrovert and needs to connect with people, and COVID made that nearly impossible. It caused problems for my mental health, but it did so to many other students. As teenagers, we need social connections to maintain our mental health, and the difficulties forming relationships compounded the struggle of COVID. Our mental health was also impacted by the stress that the pandemic put on schools themselves. Teachers and counselors' time and attention were divided between in-person and remote students. While they did their best to meet the individual needs of everyone, it was not the typical East Kentwood experience. On several occasions, our entire school went fully remote, and some of us simply didn't have the necessary resources at home to be successful. This was detrimental to our learning and mental health. We didn't have our friends and peers to lean on and support each other, making this a lonely and scary time. Many students were left feeling isolated, helpless, and hopeless. This is why I am glad to be here to witness the signing of the historic education budget. It will provide funds needed to recover from the pressure of the past year, while also increasing wraparound services that will help us recover from the stress that saturated our lives. With this support, our community and many others will be able to move past the pandemic and get back to learning and growing together. This bill will rectify the educational barriers caused by COVID-19, provide our teachers with needed resources, improve our learning experience, and help our community as a whole to better serve its youth. This budget shows that our state government is committed to us as students and the future of Michigan. Now I'd like to introduce the person who partnered with the legislature to pass this bill, that will bring so much positive change to us as a state. Please welcome Governor Whitmer.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Anya. What a phenomenal speaker you are. She pretended she was nervous. And if you were, you did it beautifully. So I'm grateful to be here with all of you, these incredible leaders in our public schools. I'm grateful that we're joined by some of the legislature that worked so hard with my administration to get this done. Senator Winnie Brinks, who is here, Senator Wayne Schmidt, who is here. I know that Representative Rachel Hood is here, and Representative Weiss is here as well. So just grateful that we have some of our legislative leaders here joining us, because this really was a team effort. A team effort that is going to inure to the benefit of 1 million Michigan kids, and their families, and their teachers, and their parapros, and their bus drivers, and the whole education community. And this is a really good day. So I'm very happy to be here at East Kentwood High School. I always nod when every school district says it's the best school district in the world, because they're all right. But I want to thank the entire Falcon community for hosting today's event. And special thanks to Kevin Polston, who has been a phenomenal leader, giving counsel to our efforts to keep people safe and to meet the academic and mental health and social needs of everyone who is a part of our schools, from the youngest, the early childhood, all the way through the post-high school experience. He's led the way in helping our schools create evidence-based, equity-driven plans to address and help respond to the pandemic. And under his leadership in the Michigan School Advisory Council, created the Michigan Blueprint for Comprehensive Recovery, which is just really an incredible amount of work that went into that, and is going to help so many districts make sure that we meet the needs of our students. So I'm proud to be here today to sign the school aid budget. This is a great day. It makes historic investment in our kids, in our teachers, in our schools, all across the state of Michigan. Because this pandemic was hard. It was hard on every single one of us, but especially our kids. I know we talk about how resilient they are, but there's no question they absorbed a lot of the stress as well. Every one of us and every one of them could share stories about the challenges faced. And I'm pretty sure at the heart of each of those stories is a school principal, or a bus driver, or an educator, or janitor, librarian, someone who went above and beyond to help a student. And as a parent of public school, as a former parent of public school students, they didn't switch schools, they graduated. As a Michigander, I know it is these phenomenal people who make a difference every single day, and often are underthanked and underappreciated. And so I can't say it enough, but I want to say thank you, and I think we should all say thank you. So this school bill that I am about to sign puts Michigan students and educators first. It invests over $17 billion to power our schools' efforts to get our kids back on track. And there's a lot in this budget to celebrate, but there are a few things that I want to point out in particular. First, we are eliminating the funding gap between schools without raising taxes. This was a promise from 1994 when we passed Proposal A. Now, tell you how young my team is, they said, can we get a school picture of you from 1994? I was out of school by 1994. Had there been an awkward picture of me at that age, I would have sent it on. But this budget invests $723 million to ensure that every school has the same baseline funding of $8,700 per pupil. And that is a huge win. Closing this funding gap means that every district can hire more top-notch teachers and bring on more nurses and psychologists and school social workers to help our students. It means updated textbooks and upgraded facilities and new sports equipment. This has been the goal on our books since 1994, as I mentioned. That's almost 30 years ago. We're doing it this year, and it is phenomenal. And you think about this, we've been chasing this goal longer than any of these students has been alive. Today, we get to realize it. And well, I'm not going to quote President Biden, but it's a big deal. I know, I'm colorful too, but I just can't even go there. All right. I do want to clarify, however, that equal funding does not mean we've achieved equity. We have more work to do in that space. We recognize that funding should increase with student need, and I'm proud that we are taking steps toward the weighted foundation formula in this budget too. It's a historic milestone, but our work must continue. Closing the funding gap is truly the headliner of this budget, but we're not stopping there. There's so much good in here. Here in Michigan, we've got one of the top preschool programs in the nation. Most Michiganders don't even know that GSRP is truly nationally recognized for the incredible work. Yeah. I have a feeling we got some early educators over in this section. Before today, 22,000 Michigan kids were eligible for the program but could not be served due to a lack of funds. That's no more as of today. This budget expands access to our homegrown preschool program, Great Start Readiness Program, for every eligible 4-year-old in Michigan. This ensures that just like their higher income peers, our youngest Michiganders all have an opportunity to thrive in grade school. We're going to expand access to quality. Our preschool programs helps more than just our kids. It helps all Michiganders get back to work and have confidence in this next generation. Every parent needs a safe place for their child while they work. We're committed to supporting a quality, affordable option for all parents, and that's what GSRP is, and it's a great start. You've heard me say we need comprehensive student recovery again and again. We want students to thrive academically, mentally, emotionally, physically. I'm especially proud that this year we have included an additional $240 million for wraparound services. Now these are critical services. This means services like psychologists and school social workers, counselors, and nurses. We're supporting these unsung heroes who work behind the scenes to keep our students healthy and safe at school, who oftentimes are so outnumbered, their work is almost impossible. So best of all, these dollars will allow districts to address the most pressing need with wraparound services as our students come back, and they certainly will have the support they need. We've also allocated funding for many other critical programs and resources that support our teachers and students. We included $90 million for special education reimbursement for our school districts to help them with the costs of special education services that they provide to our students with unique learning needs. We've dedicated $54 million to mental health and support services to fund critical safety measures like suicide prevention. We are continuing to invest in literacy coaches and quality professional development to get all kids on track by 3rd grade. And I think we'll do even more work on that front, and I'm excited about it. There are investments in early education, online mathematics tools, targeted literacy instruction, and I could go on because this is a big bill. But I'm just going to highlight a few more things. Today's bill will work in tandem with the $4.4 billion bipartisan education supplemental bill that I signed last week. This is an incredible opportunity for us. These federal funds will help us reopen schools safely, ensure that they continue to operate safely, and support our students' social, emotional, and mental health and academic needs. With that supplemental bill alongside today's school aid budget bill, which uses state dollars, we're going to make monumental improvements in the education system for all of our kids and educators in Michigan. Each of these investments in our kids and schools will help us continue our economic jumpstart. Every policy that we are pursuing right now is laser focused on helping us emerge from this pandemic stronger than ever for everyone. We have an unprecedented opportunity to use these federal stimulus funds and our $3.5 billion state budget surplus to continue investing in our families, small businesses, and communities. So we've rolled out our economic jumpstart plan to expand child care and grant small businesses grants. We've proposed bold investments in our state and local parks. We're bolstering our workforce programs to help people get better paying jobs and ensure employers can meet their talent needs. And we're also continuing our efforts to ensure more Michiganders get vaccinated through our My Shot to Win sweepstakes, which continues to attract more and more Michiganders every day. Over 1.6 million people have signed up to win cash prizes. And if you've been vaccinated and not yet signed up, what are you waiting for? We're gonna draw $1 million winner tomorrow. We're gonna announce that. And every day for the rest of the month, big prizes. So I encourage you, if you've gotten your shot, get registered. And if you haven't, get your shot and get registered. Tomorrow we'll be announcing the first week's worth of winners of the $50,000 daily drawings. So early indicators are that our efforts to jumpstart the economy are working. We went from a projected $3 billion deficit to a $3.5 billion surplus in the span of 12 months. Our unemployment rate is lower than the national average. Our GDP growth is the highest in the Midwest. An independent analysis from financial publication Credible states that our economic recovery is the second strongest in the nation. And even in the midst of all this, Fitch and S&P upgraded our state credit rating, which means we can get more roads paved. I know you love the roads too. Which means when our credit rating is high, we can do more with what we have. So this is all a testament to the incredible will and strength of the people of our state and the management that we have been able to do together through the most unimaginable circumstances. I am proud to be the governor of the state of Michigan. I am grateful for the incredible work that you do every single day, and signing this budget is one of the highlights of my time as governor of Michigan. And with that, I will turn it over to Superintendent Kevin Polston.
Thank you, Governor Whitmer. It's great to have you here during Shark Week. So, it's said that every generation faces historic challenges, and in a difficult time, you have provided outstanding leadership with wisdom and grace. Thank you for your service and commitment to the communities across Michigan. A new speech is one example of why I am proud to be the superintendent of Kentwood Public Schools. Our students, and we have several here today sitting up front, embody why we're here. As leaders, we are stewards both of the present and of the future. The businesses, they advocate for equity and excellence across our region. They're not just our future, they're helping to solve today. Allow these students to lead and succeed. And while the legislation helps to set direction, it takes community leaders to press forward with our goal of who serve on various educational boards. And I'd like to thank them for their service. And I'm going to name our folks. So we have Eric Mockerman, President of Godfrey League Public Schools, Mike Reed, President of East Grand River, with us today. Really thankful, for your service. Like our governor, they didn't sign up for a global pandemic across the region, across the state. Wayman Britt, Kent County Administrator, who's retiring here in a couple weeks. Congratulations on your service. Dr. Bill Pink, President of Grand Rapids Community College, thank you also for your sustaining our students emotionally and academically. It was an honor to serve as a chairperson for the Governor's Student Recovery Advisory Council. If a budget is a statement of values, this budget demonstrates that our children of Michigan are a top priority. And finally, I want to thank the teachers and staff members in the room today. During this pandemic, they have embodied hope for our students. They have brought light to darkness and have helped students rediscover dreams in the midst of despair. The educators at Kentwood are second to none. So please allow me to introduce Caitlin Bolvleck, English Department Chair and proud alum of my Michigan State Spartans, to share with us.
We applaud the leadership of Governor Whitmer and our legislators who clearly value the children of Michigan. Progress takes more than ideas. It takes investment, and caring for our children is a collective responsibility. Most notable is the targeted focus on the Great Start Readiness Program, the English language learners, and our at-risk students. Equitable funding for our vulnerable populations must remain a focal point because every child has the right to a well-funded education, not just those who live in affluent zip codes. Grit and resilience alone cannot bridge the gap in learning. As a teacher for the past 23 years, I can personally speak to the challenges my colleagues and I experienced since March of 2020. Hopeful and pragmatic, We are bracing ourselves to face even more challenges this fall as some students will be returning to the classroom after 18 months at home. Many will carry with them the wounds of COVID-era disruptions, instability, lack of support, and disappointment. The school funding bills will provide access to more social workers, school psychologists, classroom interventionists, and counselors who will support our work as we meet each student with open arms and hearts. Together, we will return school to a place of connection, of hope, and of learning. We will get Michigan's children back on track. Teachers believe in the promise and the potential of our students. We can now assure them that we've got you, we believe in you, and we can help. Thank you, Governor Whitmer, for your strong support of our students and our teachers. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Paula Herbart, President of
Michigan Education Association and a proud 20-year veteran music educator in Fraser Middle School. Thank you so much. The school funding bill signed today by Governor Whitmer represents a transformational investment in public education for our students and our educators. Aside from being the largest in decades, increasing the per-pupil foundation grant to $8,700 and equalizing the amount for students across the state is a huge step. It makes good on the promise made 27 years ago, beginning of my career, by the way, with the passage of Proposal A, a promise finally delivered on by this governor and this legislature. This education budget includes a significant funding increase for the Great Start Readiness Program, which will enable additional 22,000 at-risk students to access high-quality preschool programs. Just think about it. This is truly a great start, but we must continue to expand the GSRP until every preschooler who's identified at risk has the opportunity to get the jump start on their education. I'm also extremely pleased that the legislature and the governor agreed to allocate $240 million to fund the hiring of school counselors, nurses, social workers, and psychologists, staffing that is desperately needed to help students with social, emotional, and mental health issues coming out of this pandemic. While this public education budget is a big step in the right direction for school funding, it is by no means the end to the fight for adequate and equitable funding for K-12 students. It's just one step in the right direction. After decades of inequity and dramatic underfunding for public education, one fiscal year budget will not fix all of the problems that years of disinvestment has brought on our students, our educators, and our communities. However, between this budget and the recently allocated American Rescue Plan funding, we are making progress. Improvements to aging infrastructure in many school buildings across the state, updated technology and materials to help students learn post-pandemic, and funding to target the most immediate problem facing our schools today, a severe and dire shortage of educators to help our students achieve their fullest potential. These investments will show our communities what's possible for our students when we fund their education appropriately, so we can make the case in the long run to fix our broken school funding system. That's why I'm proud to stand here with Governor Whitmer and congratulate her and the legislature for getting the job done for our public schools, our students, and our educators across this state. Thank you.
Republicans say, what do our students need? Now let's get it done. Because of the leadership of Governor Whitmer and Republicans and Democrats, the leadership in the Senate and the House in crafting this K-12 education budget, our students, our children will benefit so very, very much. Thank you, everyone who had a role to play in making this happen. I'm David Hecker. I'm president of the American Federation of Teachers of Michigan, and my union greatly appreciates the opportunity to be part of this historic day. Today, the governor is signing a bill that will make a world of difference for our students, not just helping them recover from the impact of COVID-19, but looking beyond that to building a brighter future. People across the state are excited to get back to normal as we emerge from the pandemic. But when it comes to public education, we need to set a much higher goal, because back to normal just won't cut it in every district. We need to take this opportunity to start this sort of restart to figure out how we do better for our students. There are numerous recommendations along these lines in the report that Kevin mentioned, the Governor's Student Recovery Advisory Council report. For too long, as has been mentioned, our public schools have suffered from underfunding and an unacceptable gap between the highest and lowest funded schools. This budget puts us on the path to right those wrongs. This budget will provide resources districts need to go beyond back to normal. And more than an increase in funding across the board, as has been mentioned, the budget will help close the funding gap between the highest and lowest funded schools to help ensure every kid, regardless of race, income level, or zip code, benefits. Previous speakers have highlighted various aspects of the budget. I want to take a moment to highlight the $240 million for wraparound services and to hire psychologists, social workers, counselors, and nurses, the $54 million for school mental health and support programs, and the $524 million for at-risk student supports. We all know that children, young men and women, bring their lives, their experiences to the classroom. And for too many, these experiences present obstacles to our kids meeting their academic potential. I've worked a good deal with wraparound services. I've been in schools where these services are provided. I've seen firsthand the difference they make in a child's education. The look on a child's face when they now have a winter coat, when they have food to take home for the weekend, when they have school supplies, when they get much needed glasses or dental work, or when they receive something as simple as an alarm clock so they wake up for school in time. And that's a true story. That look alone makes all of the good work everyone here has done so worthwhile. And when children bring their experiences to the classroom, they're bringing their social and emotional needs. These mental health services and support programs are always needed, but never more than after a pandemic, when in many cases, children's lives have been upended. For a student to reach their academic potential, these needs must be addressed. This budget is essential to make that happen. As my wife works in early childhood education, I can't go home without commending the expansion of Michigan's Great Start Readiness Program, which provides support for economic struggling families to send their children to pre-K programs and make sure there's enough funding for every eligible 4-year-old to be covered. It's just fantastic. In closing, I want to again highlight the good that can happen when we work hard to find common ground and work together for our children and all Michiganians. Thank you, Governor Whitmer. Thank you, legislators. Thank you, everyone who made this happen for our children.
Okay, we're just jumping into Q&A, and then I'm going to sign the bill, and it will be done. So, happy to open it up for a few questions. Eric.
Talking to our local superintendents, one of the things they're most worried about is if this is sustainable past this year. There's big investment for this one time. Can the state expect to keep up this funding going forward?
So I think what we need to focus on is that there are two pieces to this global investment that we are making. The first was what I signed last week, which is the American Rescue Plan dollars. It's $4.4 billion. Those are one-time funds. So we need to be mindful, and districts will work to ensure that as they expend these dollars, they're for things that are one-time expenditures so that we don't build an expectation that we're unable to meet. But unfortunately, there are a lot of one-time necessary expenditures that schools have not been in a position to make until now. So they're gonna be able to address everything from the physical spaces to, what else, Kevin?
Yeah, so HVAC.
HVAC, I know, these are not the most exciting things people talk about in the education space, but they're absolutely necessary for a healthy environment for our students and teachers. Am I missing anything else?
So
Kevin?
some of the costs through PPE that we've had throughout the pandemic, cleaning, all the things to make sure the learning environment is what we want it to be.
What I'm signing today is the general fund, part of the general fund growth that we have had and that we are utilizing. We believe that this is sustainable, this piece of the global investment that we're making. We have seen, 12 months ago, the Revenue Estimating Conference said we were going to see a $3 billion deficit. The reality, 12 months later, is that we've got a $3.5 billion surplus. This is an opportunity, but we have to be strategic and disciplined. We got to use these resources in ways that really are going to inure to the benefit of all people in the state. And as I think about the investments that we can and need to make, certainly there are a number of things that come to mind, but the education of our young people is the most important investment, and that's why I'm really thrilled this is the first budget that I am signing.
We have one more question before the.
Oh, sorry, I was too long, Eric. Go ahead, Rick.
Governor, this is the first budget that you're signing. You would hope that there would be a bunch of them to sign by July 1st. I'm now hearing some estimates from lawmakers that it could be the end of August before the rest of the bills are done. Are you satisfied if that's the pace of getting this budget put together, the total budget put together?
Well, the legislature had a statutory duty to get the budgets to my desk by July 1. We've got one, and it's a good one. I'm happy with that. But I would like to see the pace of the rest of the budgets get done similarly and quickly. I know that schools are starting their fiscal years. This is a great and necessary time where they're making the plans for what's gonna happen in just 6 to 8 weeks, right, depending on the district. But the same can be said for municipalities across the state. The same can be said in all aspects of our planning. And so I am hopeful that the legislature, when they do come back, I think they've got a day this week or a day next week, something like that, I hope that they will get some more budgets done, negotiated budgets with my state budget office, because this shows what we are capable of when we put the priorities of the people of Michigan before anything else. So I would like to see that happen quickly. The quicker, the better. All right, with that, I'm gonna sign these budget bills. So, I know we've got a. They can see it. See it right in back. There you go. All right. And my assistant tells me it's 2:36, so that's the time these bills are